Greetings all, FerrariMan601 here. RaceSim Studio have finally released to the world Formula Hybrid 2018. This is not a full-on review video. I don't have enough time to do that quite yet, but we will be doing that in due course. What this is just a very brief first look at the car here as it sits here in the pit lane at Imola, where I tend to go for my shakedown runs. Following up on the absolutely tremendous job that RaceSim Studio did last year with Formula Hybrid 2017, they have decided to release this Formula Hybrid 2018 as a sequel. As it is with Formula Hybrid 2017, this is a complete scratch-built from the ground up interpretation of the current Formula One technical regulations. This is not based on any one real-world car, therefore I guess we could call it fictional. However, it is very heavily based on the current FIA Formula One technical regulations. RaceSim Studio absolutely hit it out of the park big time last year with Formula Hybrid 2017, and so far it certainly looks like they're shaping up to do the same this year with the 2018 car. This is a completely new car. There really aren't too many shared components between this one and the 2017 version. However, you can certainly see some family resemblance here. The engine is very similar to what's going on in the 2017 car, but it's making even more horsepower now. We're rated at 980 horsepower in the setup screen there when you go to select the car before you load up to a track. So we've got a lot of power here. Of course, it's got the single turbo V6 engine with the hybrid systems, your energy recovery systems there. All of that is carried over from Formula Hybrid 2017, but it's all been honed a little bit more. It's producing more power, it's more efficient, it's more consistent as well, I have to say. The tires, of course, they're based on the 2018 Pirellis, but they bear this fictional branding here, Forza X. Very nice detail as well as it was last year. Really, there is no area on this car that does not look completely ready to go. It is so prim and polished and put together in really almost a peerless manner. There are so few mods out there that are finished to the standard to which this one is finished. And of course, RaceSim Studio, they've done a lot of work on different kinds of cars as well. They, of course, have done the RSS GT series, which they're still working on presently, and of course Formula Hybrid 2017, along with the Formula 2 clone that they gave us, and Formula 79, which is basically a Lotus 79 clone. Absolutely tremendous work, I must say, here from RaceSim Studio once again. These guys have yet to disappoint us, and they're keeping their 100% record intact with this one. Just from a visual standpoint, it really is tremendous. I have only done one shakedown run in this car just to make sure that the mod installed correctly. Let's go off to the setup screen and let's basically learn together what's going on with this car, because I've not done any setup work. Gear display, we've got fixed ratios in this box, 8-speed box plus reverse, of course, just like the real world Formula One cars. You can't touch the ratio, so it is what it is. Theoretical top speed here, 360 kilometers per hour. Tyre Screen, we have got a plethora of tire compounds to choose from. The default here is the super soft. You can go all the way up to the mediums and then ramping down. Medium, soft, super soft, ultra soft, and new for 2018, hyper soft, which of course we've yet to see in real-world Formula One competition because we've only had one real-world Formula One race thus far this year. Congratulations to Ferrari and to Sebastian Vettel. That was a very opportunistic move under the VSC. Anyway, we're going to run mediums here. Fuel, obviously we can adjust that. Maximum fuel capacity is 142 liters. We'll just keep that quiet for the moment. Electronics, just like on Formula Hybrid 2017, you have got your MGU delivery settings, so your delivery or deploy settings. We've got hot lap, top speed, overtake, balanced high, balanced low, and charging, so this turns the deploy off. MGU recovery, so this is governing how much torque basically is applied to the rear axle, so that the battery can regenerate its charge. MGU-H mode, so this is the motor generator unit run off of the turbocharger. You can route that power into the battery to recharge the batteries further, or you can switch it to motor mode, which will then take that power that's being harvested off the turbocharger and just dump it back into the rear axle. And then your brake engine braking settings here. This just changes really how much the throttles hang open a little bit on the downshifts, and it just changes the torque mapping slightly across the rear axle, particularly under braking and when you're starting to pick up the throttle again as you're coming off of the apex of the corner. Aerodynamics, front and rear wings, they are really complicated wings, but the adjustments for them very simple. 24 degrees maximum angle there on the front wing, 12 degrees maximum on the rear. You can bring them down to 1 degree in the front as well as on the rear. You do not see the flap angles change visually, however their effects are well modeled. Brakes, just brake bias here, 54% to the front is the default value. Drivetrain, differential adjustments, and that's it. Power, coast, and preload there, default values shown. Visual mods here for Halo. You can see we do have Halo affixed to this car. We do have the option of running without it, which is quite nice, although I must say it's 2018 now. As much as I really despise the Halo, we're going to run it because that's most representative of reality nowadays. Suspension, camber and tow on all four corners here. Again, all defaults. I've done zero setup work. Suspension dampers, your bound and rebound, fast and slow rates on all four corners. Third springs here in bound and rebound, fast and slow. This is your heave damper. Main suspension adjustments, we've got anti-roll bars front and rear, ride heights, wheel rates, and travel ranges there on the push rods. Suspension's main on the third spring here, wheel rate and wheel rate on heave, and then interesting. Yep, heave spring, front and rear. This is new. Very cool. That's different from Formula Hybrid 2017. Caught me out a little bit. This is basically the preload on the heave spring, front and rear. Very, very nice, I must say. And the car drives very well, as we shall find out presently. We're going to put a lot of fuel on board simply because I don't want to spoil this one yet. I'm going to do a full-on review of this car later on, and I want to experience the full power of this thing there together with you. So yeah, we're going to run in the aggressive MGU deploy modes, but we're going to run the medium tires, and we're going to be sandbagging a bit with a lot of fuel on board so as not to spoil the experience. The car is still plenty fast though. Here in the cockpit, we have great instrumentation here. Obviously, we've got status lights and shift lights across the top of the steering wheel, which is pretty much entirely new for this year. On the steering wheel itself, we have got a big LCD screen. Speed is going to be in the upper left, reading 0 right now because we're not moving. To the upper right, we have engine RPM, 3,700 RPM sitting here at idle. Below that, you see F60. No, that's not the 2009 Ferrari Formula 1 car. That is the fuel level in liters, 60 liters of fuel on board presently. Big N in the center, obviously that's our gear position indicator. We're in neutral at the moment. It does ramp all the way up to 8th gear and then all the way down through neutral and reverse. On the extreme left-hand side of the screen, the green bar, that is the state of charge of our ERS battery. Down across the bottom row, you see L1, that's the lap we're currently running, and then the time you see ticking across the bottom right, that is the current lap time. No other details that we can interact with in this car so far that I've been able to see, but the steering wheel, albeit fictional, it is detailed quite nicely. You can see those semicircular hand grips there cut off at the bottom, just as we'd expect to see in a real-world Formula 1 steering wheel nowadays. Pretty good visibility from the cockpit, I must say. Yes, we do have Halo here. However, the center stay on Halo is a bit thinner than it is on the Halo mod on the Ferrari SF70H, so visibility is slightly improved. Of course, you can see Halo running across the top of the screen there. It's not really in your sight lines, though. Elevation change, Eau Rouge, for example, might be a little bit of an issue, but we've not run there yet. Mirrors, you can see them there. We don't have a full view in the mirrors just because of the field of view I'm running, but they work, and I imagine they'd give you a pretty good view of what's going on behind. At any rate, though, let's punch up first gear and get this car out on track. Up to the 80 km/h pit lane speed limit. And out on track. Let's get up through the gearbox. Everything responding nicely. Start to get a little bit of heat in these tires. Remember the medium compounds, so they're a bit hard. They'll take a couple of laps really to get up to their happy point. Gearbox is really quick, even not running at full speed here. Definitely seamless on the upshift. There is an auto cut on the upshift. Also, watch the throttle trace. That's an auto blip on the downshift, so no stabbing at the gas. You couldn't couldn't possibly stab at the gas fast enough to do that anyway. And very nice sounds there. You hear the turbo wastegates blowing off there as we get off the throttle, dumping that boost pressure. Very nice. Some of the sounds are somewhat recycled from last year's car. However, this being an updated version of that, I can certainly excuse that. None of the real-world Formula 1 cars sounding much different than they did last year, so that's realistic to me. DRS, green lights come across on the sides of the steering wheel there, on either side of the LCD screen. That means DRS is available. If I open the flap, you see 2 more green lights come on down at the bottom there in the middle. That means DRS is open. I lift off the throttle, it stays open. I brake, and then it closes. There's some revs there. Looks like we are upshifting at about 12,000 RPM, so that's pretty realistic. Let's see where redline is. Redline is at 13,000 RPM. There's really no reason to rev it up to 13 grand, but there it is. Gearbox is really peachy. Pretty good XL and pretty good decel. Remember, we're not running any of the hybrid systems yet. They're all switched off. We're going to change that in a moment. Send our MGU-H into motor. And let's go to balanced high on the MGU-K. DRS open. No manual deploy yet. We do have that option. I'm not hitting the button. See the effects on the straight line speed. Lots of torque on that rear axle, but the tires are dealing with it well. The suspension has some give to it, which is quite nice. You do feel the weight of this car. It's slightly heavier than the 2017 version. Of course, that's mostly due to halo. But when you've got 1,000 horsepower, the weight doesn't matter so much. Great mid-range torque, I've got to say. And remember, this is just the computer taking care of the MGU deploy for me. Just this. Boom, there's the torque. Got some wheel spin, you got to be careful. A little bit of a half lockup into the braking zone there. Throwing the car in. On and power. DRS manual. KERS deploy now. You can see the blue lights down there at the bottom of the columns of lights, the 3 lights on either side of the LCD. The blue light there at the bottom, that means I am on the button manually deploying that MGU power. A little bit of oversteer there on power. Oh yeah, that XL is pretty nice, I've got to say. Throwing the car in at Piratella, getting on the throttle. Aquamirale throwing it in for the first element. Got to back it down for the second one. Oh yeah, this thing is certainly not wanting for any power. Not really going for it. We're still a second and a half up on our previous best. That's a bit of oversteer again, but you see I can catch it. You do have a little bit of leeway there with the slip angle, particularly on the rear axle. It's somewhat forgiving. It's a 120.325. Again, we're running a lot of fuel and we're running the hardest tires. there's easily another 3 seconds in this car. Go wide over the exit curves there at Tamarello. Get away from it. Steering weight is very nice. It's light, but you still get plenty of definition from the force feedback. Of course, I've never driven a Formula 1 car, so I have no idea what the steering really feels like, but I'd imagine it's lighter than you might think. They do have power steering, but you do get very good road feel. The curbs feel nice, the bumps feel nice. You even get a little bit of chatter from the rear axle when the rear axle breaks traction a little bit. See, our MGUK recovery is at 100% at the moment. You can see the regen happening. If you keep watching that green bar on the left-hand side of the LCD, cycle up and down as you're using power and gaining it back. 320 clicks, 325 on the brakes. You can just throw the front end at the apex and it sticks. Got to be careful on the throttle there. But again, you can see, big oversteer moment, we can recover it. You got to be quick, but it is recoverable. Working lap 6, we've burned 10 liters of fuel only. Quite fuel efficient, I must say this thing is. Of course, no refueling in modern Formula 1, so what you've got is what you've got all day. A little bit wide there. Again, big power oversteer, and we can recover it. Perhaps forgiving is not a term that you would associate with a Formula 1 car, but this one is quite forgiving. ERS open, manual ERS deploy, 8th gear. Let's see what we can throw at it. Pitching it into Tamarello there on the throttle as early as we can. You get on the throttle pretty early. You just got to keep your steering quiet so that you don't unsettle the car too much in that lateral balance left to right. Rear axle will grip as long as you don't push it too hard. And there we go. Up the hill. We are up marginally on our session best. Gear, pick up the apex curves, pick up the throttle. Rear end just skipping over those midline curves there through Acqua Minerale, very nice. Variante Alta, we locked up a little bit. Front axle can lock pretty easily in this car. You do have to watch that. You might want to ramp the brake bias back a little bit. See how that works. It's far easier to lock the brakes in this car than it is in the 2017 version. .228. But I really like the positivity on the front end there. You just look toward the apex and the car follows your eyes. It's great. A little bit oversteer there on turn in. Running 100% harvest on a rear axle. It's not the most efficient way to run one of these cars, but you can see the ERS reserves there. Not even close to being depleted. And we're on our 8th lap here. Running manual deploy and running in balanced high right now. Lots of rear axle slippage there. Got on the AstroTurf. Still rock solid. This thing is quite nice. We've been running consistently in the low 120s. And like I said, you put the Ultra Softs or the Hyper Softs on it, you take the fuel out, I'm telling you, there are at least another 3 seconds in this car. Also, remember, we're running at maximum downforce. Front and rear wings are pegged to the maximum. Who knows how much we can actually ramp them back here. We're going to have to do some more testing to figure that out, but man, if we've got this kind of straight line speed at maximum downforce, what are we going to do when we ramp it down for a place like Monza? Visibility with the halo, as you can see, it's really not that badly compromised. The smaller center stay, the thinner cross-section of it, definitely helping there. When you really start to hunker down on a fast lap, it does sort of blend in with your surroundings. Your brain works pretty nicely to delete it. It's a whole lot less awkward than the version that I tested in the SF70H. And there we go, 119.306, so we definitely have more lap time in this car. And remember, we got lots of fuel on board, and we're on the hardest tires. That was very out of shape. Gotta say, this is the car of 2018. You want to get a representative experience in Assetto Corsa of what a modern Formula One car is with Halo, with the refined hybrid systems. Here it is. Look no further. RaceSim Studios Formula Hybrid 2018. Let's turn off the hybrid systems. Get back into the pits. Just hear the MGU and the turbo spool down as you get off the throttle. Quite nice. Well, I think it's a little bit too early to give a verdict on this car because, well, those were basically my first laps in it. But so far, so very good, I must say. Have a look here. The texturing, we kind of went off track a little bit on a couple of occasions. We've got some dirty textures now across the front of the car. Look at that. Quite nice. Have a look at the cross-section of the nose tip there. They've got this vent, which I presume runs all the way through the front of the nose and then exits here through an S-duct. Very nice. Looking at the design of this car, I'm seeing hints of SF70H for sure, but also I'm definitely seeing something that is unique to RaceSim Studio. The midline of the car, in terms of looking at the geometry, the engine cover and the side pod inlets particularly, this car very much is based on last year's Formula Hybrid by RaceSim Studio. So these guys are not just copying something that's already out there in the real world. They are designing this thing from the ground up, doing their own interpretation of the F1 regulations. It's really, really cool and very refreshing to see real engineering happening now in sim racing. Absolutely awesome. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with a trackside and an onboard view of some more hot laps around here. Again, running a lot of fuel on board and running the medium compound tires because I do not yet want to find out just how fast this thing is because it's fast. It's definitely going to be faster than last year's car, and I venture to say it might even be able to challenge such greats as the Renault R25 and McLaren MP420. This thing is properly quick. Just a conservative estimate right now, there's 3 seconds still in this car, and we did a 119 just now. So could we see 116s, maybe even high 115s out of this car here at Imola? Quite Possibly. Anyway, stay tuned for those hot laps, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this first look at RSS Formula Hybrid 2018. Download links in the description.